Hi, I'm Perry Atkinson, General Manager here at theDove. Hey, check out our other videos and check out our website at thedove.us. Welcome back. Well, we got a very special guest for a couple of segments, and I've been looking forward to this. We have Mark Davis with us today. He's a political commentator and the host of the Mark Davis Radio Show. Hold on, being broadcasted every day on the big Blowtorch 660. KSKY in Dallas, Texas. And on Fridays, maybe you pick him up on the William Bennett's nationally syndicated radio show. But he's authored a book called The Lone Star America, How Texas Can Save Our Country. Even though he's on some big radio shows at a big radio station, he has now made it to the big time because he's on the Dove radio and TV network. Hi, Mark.
Let me tell you something. It's a pleasure to be with you guys. And I've been looking at the website and seeing some of the stuff you guys do. Yeah. You do big time stuff, and I'm honored. I'm honored to be in your company.
Well, thank you. How you doing, my friend? How's the weather down there? Are you hot?
Why does everybody in San Diego, everybody in the Pacific Northwest, why does everybody ask me about the temperature? Is it because they know that I'm going to have to tell you that it's 105? Yes, it is, which makes it maybe even more noteworthy that even though it's 100 degrees from Memorial Day till Halloween, people are streaming to Texas anyway. There must be a reason.
Well, first of all, you got a governor out just kind of cherry-picking companies all over the country, moving them down there, which is good. Texas is a remarkable story. So you obviously try to write about it. Why did you write this book?
Well, doing what I do for a living and what I've done for a really long time, it seems like a continuing stream of questions and answers in which we're always asking, what can we do to make the country better? What can we do to make our state better for as long as I've been in Texas? And the answers keep coming back, at least from a conservative perspective. They come back: lower taxes, sensible regulation, restrained spending, honor the founding fathers by obeying the Constitution, obey the Bill of Rights, let people own guns as the Second Amendment requires, cleave to certain basic values. And if this is what our Senate candidates should be saying this coming election and what our presidential candidates should be saying, they can point to a place right here in Texas where we've been doing it for 20 years with great success, so that it's not just a matter of principle, there's a proven record.
All right, let me jump ahead a little bit, Mark, and come back. There's great pressure with this current administration to turn Texas Democrat. Do you think that'll happen?
Well, it ain't going to happen in the short term. I'm not in the business of guaranteeing anything in the long term. Wendy Davis is a Democrat running for governor against Greg Abbott. These are the people who will vie for to become Rick Perry's successor this November, to be sworn in January 2015. For about 10 minutes there, it looked like we might have a really huge story, because Wendy Davis is an attractive candidate. She's a smart lady. I've known her for a long time. Her skill was that she was kind of a just left of center Democrat who talked a lot about education funding and support of the troops. I mean, she was a Texas Democrat, which means in many ways she was more conservative than a lot of Northeastern Republicans. But here's the thing. They turned her into an abortion rights rock star. It wasn't really in her DNA. She enjoyed the money. She enjoyed the attention, did that filibuster against what were very reasonable abortion restrictions. And everybody from Hollywood to all these various stretches that yearned to make Texas a purple state and then a blue state, they said, this is it. This is a candidate that can win. Finally, a Democrat governor. Yeah, that's not going to happen. It is not going to happen. But if it does, if it ever does, here's why we need to keep fighting and keep Texas red. Every election day, every election night for president, what do? We know New York is going to go a certain way. We know California is going to go a certain way. We usually know Oregon's going to go a certain way. We go to Florida and Ohio. We bite our nails down to the nub because we never know what they're going to do. Texas is the only large state, the only enclave of a good number of electoral votes that you can absolutely know are going to go Republican every time. If we lose that, if we no longer have that, good luck getting a Republican elected to the White House.
Interesting. Well, now, your last Democrat governor was Ann Richards, right?
Correct. That was right when I got here. I got here in 94 for like the last few months of Ann Richards, and then Governor George W. Bush, and then Governor Rick Perry. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was chairman of our state for 4 years when George W. became president, and of course she was the one that said that poor George, he was born with a silver foot in his mouth. Next election, she got voted out.
Well, indeed so, and then, of course, that was about Bush's dad, Bush 41, at the National Convention, and it's funny because Ann Richards she was quite the character, and thought that she could go in with sort of a smile on her face and some snark and some acerbic wit. But George W., in a genius gubernatorial campaign in 1994, said, you know what? I'm scarcely going to say a negative thing about this woman. She's popular, but her policies might not be. We are a basically conservative state. I'm a basically conservative guy. I'm going to see if I can come in there and do a campaign that is refreshing in its absence of negative ads, and went negative about George W., and sank under the weight of her own negative advertising.
Yeah, boy, there's so much to be learned on that one, Mark. I hope we remember that. All right, let's get into some of the things that's going on in Texas. You guys are really business friendly. Could we send John Kitzhopper down to take a lesson?
You surely may, or just get him a copy. His own copy.
Okay, we'll send him a copy of your book.
It's a lot cheaper. It's a lot cheaper. You're saving plane fare.
Yeah.
That is, in fact, my wish, is not to sit here in Texas and say, hey, we're better than y'all, but rather to say, here are some things that have worked for us. Business friendliness, sensible regulation, getting energy out of the ground, domestic American energy. If other states will do this, they too can enjoy some of what everybody's called the Texas miracle. It's not a miracle. This is a sensible reaction to sensible policies. This is what happens when you govern better. And I'm hoping that there are lessons in this for everybody, especially the folks, south of you, the long-suffering people of California.
Yeah, well, they got the same issues going on. Hey, quickly, what's your take on what's happening down the border? I know that Governor Perry has directed the National Guard down there. Are we setting up for some kind of a state-Fed conflict on this issue?
Well, there hasn't been so far. There has been a great deal of jurisdictional harmony so far. Everybody is on board. Everybody knows, that everybody's sort of pulling the wagon in the same direction. Because you have three layers. You have the Border Patrol, which are under direct control of the White House. You have the Texas DPS, Department of Professional Safety, the Public Safety, our state troopers. And they were down there to sort of bolster the Border Patrol, and that worked out okay. Now, here comes the National Guard, which is kind of a state-federal hybrid, and they are headed down there to partner up with the other people who are there, but maybe more than anything, to give the image of a country that is suddenly a little more serious about keeping illegal folks out than we were a couple of months ago. And that part might kind of be working, because if you take a look at the raw numbers of people who have been, trying to pour across the border. I mean, if you go back just 4 or 6 weeks, that's where you get those stories of people coming across, throwing up their hands and saying, please detain me, please catch me, because they knew it was a guaranteed ticket to Lackland Air Force Base in San Antonio or wherever. Mm-hmm. I mean, they'd be warehoused like pork products, but they were in America. They made it into America, and they knew they could probably disappear into the fabric of our nation. So far, so good. There has not been any rivalries, jurisdictional conflicts whatsoever.
All right, the name of the book is called Lone Star America, How Texas Can Save Our Country. There's a picture of it there on the screen, those watching on the Dove TV. You can check it out at Amazon, Barnes & Noble. Get a copy. It's a tremendous resource. You know what? You guys running for state office in Oregon, get a copy of this book and read it before you go out on the campaign trail.
There you go.
All right, let me take
that go over big.
All right, let me take a quick break. I'm sure you know what those are all about, and we'll be right back with Mark Davis. Okay, we're back, and really honored to have with us today Mark Davis. He's a political commentator, a radio talk show host. If you're in Dallas, you probably hear him on the big, what we call in the industry, blowtorch, 660 KSKY, and he also hosts the William Bennett Show on Fridays. And he's authored a book, and I'm telling you, get this book. It's called The Lone Star America: How Texas Can Save Our Country. And I made the comment going in the break. Now I think about it, it's a great comment. You candidates running in the state of Oregon for any state office, get a copy of this book and read it. There's a reason why businesses are thriving in Texas. And you may want to check it out. So at Barnes & Noble or online at Amazon. Hey, Mark, what single thing you think is attracting businesses to Texas?
If it's possible to assemble in one basket a lot of the characteristics that I describe of the Texas style of governance, it is to view government as limited in the fashion that the founding fathers intended. That if there's anything that we do in Texas, we govern only as much as we need, to avoid chaos and provide basic services. Beyond that, we let people keep more of their money and we let them keep more of their liberties. If I could distill it into one sentence, that would essentially be it. The problem with government in so many states and the problem with government in so many parts of America is it takes too much of our money and infringes on too many of our liberties. When it stops doing that, suddenly businesses are attracted, suddenly individuals thrive, and we are freer as a people. It's a win-win-win.
All right. You say in your book that environmentalists, quote, alarmists, are a little challenged with Texas. How so?
Well, because I'm so glad you've read the parts that I like to talk about the most. It's because the EPA has been at war with Texas and us with them for a long time. Everybody in Texas, everybody in America wants clean water, clean air. We want to be good stewards of the planet. The environmental extremists among us want to cripple jobs on the altar of keeping a pristine earth. I don't know where that comes from. It's certainly not biblical. It is not logical. We are called to be good stewards of the planet while providing for human productivity. And we have found a way to do this in Texas. We have found a way to be environmentalists on our own terms, which drives the federal government crazy. And that's kind of a model for how we do an enormous amount of things here in Texas. We educate our children on our own terms. We really like not to have interference from Washington in that regard. This is one of the things, to come back to Governor Perry, why his themes may resonate so loudly if he chooses to tee it up again in 2016, is this is a big states' rights environment. The United States of America is a magnificent place that is a federation of 50 independent states. They're not all their own country, but they are their own state, and the United States make up the country. That there is something different about being in Texas versus Oregon, California versus Florida, right, New York versus Alabama. And there should be. That way, if there's something you love about your state, stay there. If there's something you like in another state, go there. And the Texas flavor has been to govern with a lighter hand and leave people with more of their wealth and more of their freedoms.
All right, so the struggle between the extreme environmentalist and what you would call a Texas environmentalist, really you're a conservationist, wouldn't you say?
Well, exactly. This is that we take a lot of oil out of the ground. Right. We're bringing natural gas out of the ground. In fact, we obviously at some point need to get to a discussion of fracking, which freaks people out. This Gasland movie from a couple of years ago showing somebody setting fire to their faucet water. That's not happening here. But are there environmental concerns to hydraulic fracturing? Sure there are. Yeah. And the best way to deal with this is let local towns, local counties say, okay, maybe we want 1,000 feet between a gas well and a house, maybe 2,000 feet, whatever they want to do. So they have a patchwork of the will of the people, a patchwork of communities saying, we want fracking, we want natural gas, but maybe not in somebody's backyard. We got a lot of territory here. We have a lot of land here. We have a lot of energy underneath our feet, and we're making enormous money off of it. Homeowners are, our state is. It actually becomes a national security issue, because isn't it a good idea for each state and for our nation to do anything possible to harvest more American energy so that we can get less of it from places in the world that want to kill us?
Interesting. All right, I want to talk about the faith community in Texas. You seem to be the home of some of the largest ministries in the world, and you have some of the biggest churches in the world. Obviously, Christians like Texas.
And Christians like Texas, and Texas likes Christians. It's just
all right.
Here's the thing. In my there's a whole subsection called God, Guns, and Guts, in which I take a look at some of the social issues, things. And on the God part of that, obviously, evangelical Protestants are our biggest subset, but we have a ton of Catholics. We have a big Muslim population. We got 26 million people. We have a lot of everybody. The great thing about life, not just for Christians, but for everybody, is I think we've got religious freedom right. We're not the only state that does, but here's the balance that I like: is you can come here and pretty well wear your Christianity on your sleeve, and no one is going to chase you from the public square. Now, we all have the responsibility to make sure that we don't try to establish a theocracy or anything like that, and we're not doing so. It's weird because the infamous Madalyn Murray O'Hair and American Atheists and all that, that was born in Texas. That was a Texas thing. Roe versus Wade, one of the worst Supreme Court rulings in the history of the country, was a Texas case. So these are things that come from our belly. But then what do we do with them? We tell our atheists that you are as welcome to believe what you believe as I am to believe in God and his son Jesus. But here's a deal. Nobody's going to drive anybody from the public square. You're not going to tell me if I'm a private citizen or a public official that I can't profess my faith and speak of it and without that kind of consternation. And with regard to Roe versus Wade, that case did indeed come from here. Norma McCorvey, the Jane Roe there, is now an ardent pro-life activist. And once again, Governor Perry and some Texas-style conservatism might be the best battle back to give us some judges that will overturn Roe versus Wade.
Boy, you guys have done a wonderful job. And by the way, you've done a wonderful job defending the life of the unborn down there. It's just remarkable. All right, Mark. First of all, before I ask you this question, I want you to do me a favor. I want you to get me a sign that says Perry for president. I want to hang it in my office.
Well, I'll tell you what, they may be manufacturing those soon enough. You may have a Perry presidential campaign.
Yeah.
You may have a Ted Cruz presidential campaign.
Oh, yeah.
Would that be something? And there are going to be a lot of people. But let's talk about the governors, plural, for a little bit.
Right.
Because Chris Christie's going to get some attention. I don't know what to think of him anymore. Bobby Jindal right next door to us in Louisiana. Scott Walker up in Wisconsin. I think there's going to be a taste for governors because, silly me, after this presidency, we might want somebody who's actually run something at some point in his life.
Yeah, that's why I think senators may not be attractive. I don't care how good they are.
This Scott Walker himself said this in an interview. I think somebody asked Scott Walker about Ted Cruz. We're trying to get these guys to talk about each other. And I think Governor Walker said, I don't know, the whole senator thing, the whole legislator thing, not that Barack Obama ruined it for every senator at the beginning of time. If there is one senator that can cut through that, though, it probably is Ted Cruz, because there's no doubting the passion and fire and unapologetic, upbeat conservatism that he brings. But of the governors, there are lots of good governors. Is there anybody that can match Rick Perry's 15 years of standing up against federal overreach and guiding Texas, not just surviving, but thriving in the era of Obama? Can anybody else equal that? Just saying.
Let me ask you this. Do you believe after his last run that he's learned anything from that and how to communicate the success story of Texas?
He never really had a communication problem. He had an overconfidence problem. He had a memory problem there on that stage in 2011 when he could not remember the third agency he would get rid of.
Well, I'm sure it's never happened to you or me.
Oh, exactly. I can't find my car keys. I can't find my left shoe, And when people came down hard on him about that, I think it kind of made him look human. And he said, he kicked in with the self-deprecating humor almost immediately, and I guess he'd have to fire that back up. But the bottom line is he can say, look, I may have brain cramped on that particular issue on that particular night. But I never forgot what I was trying to do in terms of keeping the federal government out of Washington's business. And I certainly didn't forget how to run a state well. And he's got 3 more years under his belt of doing that. So he will be a smarter candidate. He'll be a better prepared candidate. He won't be as medicated up from back surgery. And I'm not sitting here saying
I think
he's going to be the nominee. He's going to be the 45th president. I don't know, but it would be unwise to underestimate him.
All right. Would it create political conflict if he and Cruz are up on the stage against each other?
This is a golden question. I've always had an idea that they're going to get together at some point and say, I don't know if we draw straws, probably not, but I don't think both of them will run. I think one of them will, and neither one of them may, you never know, but if it's only one of them, chances are it may be Perry. I mean, look what he's doing. He's arguing with Rand Paul on the pages of the Washington Post about isolationism. I mean, he's all over the place doing presidential candidate type things. And Senator Cruz, whom I've also come to know in a much shorter amount of time, I think he loves to legislate. I think he loves where he is. He's
you almost need him in the Senate to continue to be the bulldog that he is.
Exactly. Listen, if we had a President Rick Perry, or or anybody from any state that is an upbeat, unapologetic conservative, you give me that in the White House and Ted Cruz as a conservative blowtorch in the Senate, I get tingly thinking about the possibilities.
Well, you don't get that tingling up your leg, I know that, but let me ask you that. Let me ask you this. What are the possibilities of a complete Texas ticket?
Well, I think, God, isn't there a constitutional constraint that kicks in some ways? I mean, I think that might be a little bit of mythology. I don't know. But you know what? Let's tell you what, all of that aside, that's almost a definite no, because in the handbook, if there were on how to combine a presidential ticket, I mean, there were people who said, how about Sarah Palin and Condoleezza Rice? Well, you're not going to have 2 women. Yeah. There are people who said Alan West and Ben Carson. Well, we're not going to do 2 black guys. I mean, I know we've done 2 white guys forever, but variety is a good idea. And listen, I love my state, but Perry Cruz or Cruz Perry, that might actually be too much Texas. You give me Perry or Cruz, and then go get me, if I got a governor, give me a senator. Right. If I've got a senator, give me a governor. If I've got somebody from my neck of the woods, give me somebody from another part of the country.
All right, Mark, I got a little less than 90 seconds. I want to reach down your throat and squeeze your heart. Is there hope for America?
If I didn't think so, I wouldn't have written the book. We're a weird people sometimes. Sometimes things have to get really horrible before we start to wake up and pay attention. We could have started a Tea Party movement 10 years ago, 20 years ago. We've been overspending and trampling the Constitution for decades under presidents and Congresses of both parties. Mm-hmm. But when things got so bad, we just had to rise up and say enough, like the guy in Tiananmen Square standing up there against the tank. I absolutely believe it can be done. Texas has some solid examples on how to do it. If people are willing to pay attention, I hope in Lone Star America they will find humble suggestions on how to improve each state and how to improve the country moving forward. I absolutely believe it.
God bless you, my friend. You have a website?
The best bet, well, LoneStarAmericaChapter.com. LoneStarAmericaChapter.com. You can get a free chapter of the book. Woohoo! Find it on Amazon. 660 The Answer, 660 AM TheAnswer.com, 660 AM TheAnswer.com for the little show that I do each day in this studio. And that should probably do it for self-promotion. It's great to be on with you guys. I enormously appreciate it. And whenever I can, I escape those 105-degree temperatures, and I come to your neck of the woods.
All right, so you don't want to give out your personal cell phone number. I'll hold you off on that. All right, it's called Lone Star America, How Texas Can Save Our Country. Check it out. There's a picture up there on the screen at Amazon or at Barnes & Noble, or you can go to LoneStarChapter.com. Check it out there. Mark, you're a delight. Let's connect again, okay?
I would be more than happy. Thank you very much.
All right, God bless you. We'll see you next time on Focus Today.